I would just agree with Jonathan. The only thing I would say about the word crackdown is that I have covered riots in Paris, and the reason we don't use the word crackdown is because they don't. They let it happen. It's quite extraordinary. The French youth, they just do their thing and they burn things and so on, and the police, c'est incroyable. So that's why we don't use the word.
I moved to the wrong country.
Over on the side over here near the door. This is going to betray my background as a student of politics and international relations, not of journalism, and not a slant towards politics and international relations, I don't think, but an interest in that side of things. And this may be addressing it to the wrong panel of speakers, but we're taking as a premise to this whole conversation that free media, and I won't presume to say that, I wouldn't presume to contradict this, but that free press would be good for China. I wanted to ask you guys to deal a little bit with the question, because the government, when they justify the restrictions on media, they give an argument. They don't say it without a justification. They say it's because economic stability and social stability and political stability is important. And in the world of international relations, there's a growing sense of sympathy that benevolent dictatorships are perhaps better than Iraq. So I wanted to ask the panelists to deal a little bit with the question, maybe this is improperly addressed, but the question of if free media would be good for China, and if so, how? And maybe also what the negative possible consequences would be. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a really great question for everybody to answer, and perhaps as the last one. So would you like to start, Steve? Maybe ladies first, okay.
No, why don't you go along?
Okay, then it's going to be the guy with the beard again, I'm sorry.
Beardist. I think that is an absolutely fundamental question. It seems like lots of things are connected here. Why do we write so many stories about censorship, as you were saying? I think the reason I write so many stories, I believe this is absolutely fundamental to the way the country is run, and it's a very, very important issue that we should keep mentioning again and again. I come from a white, Western, liberal, British, Guardian background, and free speech is absolutely a fundamental thing in my core values. However, I have to say that since I've come to China, I haven't given that up, but I'm constantly questioning myself and saying, would it work here? Does it need to be brought in? Does it need to be phased in, or should it be done suddenly? Is it just a case of freedoms, or isn't it also a case of emphasizing responsibilities? I think sometimes the British media goes bananas. We're not a paragon of virtue in this case by any means at all. I do believe it would be good for China in the long run if introduced in a responsible fashion. I think it would help for the issue of corruption, which is a major problem. I think it should help with the issue of a terrible environment, which is another major problem, if people actually knew what the problems were in more detail. I think it would probably help the financial system if there would be more trust in the outside world, if the information coming out of China was reliable information. Against that, I would say that one of the most revealing interviews I've had here was with the head of Interfax, a Russian, who came over here. And he was in Russia at the time of, when the Berlin Wall came down, and suddenly he said the Russian media could do whatever they wanted. He was one of the people who was doing whatever they wanted. And he said it was chaos. It was total chaos, and lots of terrible things were happening. Now, I don't completely accept his view. I think he's a bit of an apologist. He's now very close to the country, the Putin regime, as was. But I do believe that you can't just jump into a free media, and that you should phase it in with responsibilities. And that doesn't sound very Guardian-like of me, but that is my view. That yes, free media is definitely the goal you should aim for, but do it with responsibilities.
Raymond.
Personally, I believe free media would be good for China, but I agree with Jonathan that it should be phased in. If we jump in, I guarantee you that tomorrow all the newspapers will be tabloids filled with celebrity gossip. But I also believe in believe that restoring order with legal means would be good for China?
I think that free media has to go with the rule of law, and I think it's, I agree with Jonathan that when it comes to things like corruption, I think that the media is very important, not just in China but anywhere else. But if you don't have a legal system that can deal correctly and justly with those who are corrupt, then a free media just leads to anger and frustration amongst the people who read about the corruption and then nothing is done about it. So I think that it has to be part of a process of democratization, of which I would probably say that elections and electoral politics are the least important, because I think it's all about people's own sense of personal responsibility and social responsibility, and free media and non-governmental organizations, environmental organizations, it's all part of one piece. And yes, I do believe, because of my background and culturally where I come from, that I would see as a better future for China than the kind of authoritarian capitalism which I feel that we're seeing in China and Russia today.
I think maybe we can... Steven?
You have to leave Steven, he's the last word.
Okay, so finally, I think I'm the third one to agree with Jonathan's words. So I think, yeah, I think free media is absolutely a good thing for China, but it just takes a long time to achieve this goal. But the situation is absolutely better than maybe 10 years ago and 20 years ago. You could not imagine that you could get any access to Western media 10 years ago, but now you could download it, you could watch it, you could read it everywhere in this city and everywhere online. So it's better, and I think it would be better bit by bit and day by day.
Can I respond as a dissenting view then?
Oh, Jim, all right. You know, we were going to close off and let everyone drink, but if you're going to deny people their alcohol, you are a vegan after all.
I have a few drinks inside of me. But I felt if we're looking to this process of democratization and the emergence of a civil society, perhaps a gradual free media from the point of view of media organizations like yourself is not so important. But if you expect civil society to emerge and Chinese people can't speak honestly amongst themselves, you're never going to get there. If you can't talk to, you know, it doesn't matter about, I'm not really, but I think Raymond's quite right that commercial pressures will change the mass media. But more importantly is small local magazines where Chinese people in a town can speak to each other about environmental problems, labour issues and things like that. So it is essential now. And until it comes about, you're not going to see civil society emerge in a form in China that can provide these goods that you want.
Can I just quickly respond? I don't want to be seen as the arch-conservative. I'm really not the arch-conservative. If I say do it responsibly and in stages, that does not mean I think the current pace of change is at all adequate. I think it's appalling, and that absolutely the kind of things you say people should be able to talk to a journalist without fear of retribution. And that fear is very, very strong, as I've never felt more than in the past 2 weeks of trying to cover the disturbances in Tibetan communities.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much for coming. Now you please stay and drink as much as you can. Thank you very much to Songba for sponsoring this event, and thanks very much to all of you for coming. We're hoping to have another event probably in about a month's time about a slightly different topic. Finally, thank you very much to all the panelists for making the time, and please give them a round of applause.